The ultimatum and Earth's defiance. Captain Nora Takeda stood on the observation deck of the GDF Resolute, Earth's most advanced battle cruiser, as the massive alien vessel emerged from the shimmering portal at the edge of lunar orbit. The ship was colossal, at least 5 kilometers from bow to stern, its obsidian hull adorned with pulsing crimson veins that reminded Takeda of blood vessels on some enormous beast. "Magnification increased," announced Lieutenant Jaden Ockhaffer, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Whatever these beings are, they've mastered technology far beyond our current capabilities." The enormous viewscreen displayed intricate details of the alien vessel. Its surface wasn't smooth as initially thought, but covered with countless geometric patterns that seemed to shift and realign constantly. Occasional energy discharges coursed along its hull, like lightning trapped beneath dark waters. "Status of the planetary defense grid?" Takeda asked, her voice steady despite the tension that had settled in her chest. "All stations report ready, Captain," replied Commander Dmitry Volkov, her second-in-command. The Russian's weathered face betrayed no emotion, but she could sense his concern. "The Phoenix platforms are operating at full capacity, and all orbital defense satellites have locked onto the alien vessel." 17 months ago, the world had been thrown into chaos when astronomers detected the first evidence of an approaching alien fleet. Nations that had once been adversaries set aside centuries of distrust and rivalry, uniting under the global defense force. The Resolute represented humanity's best hope, a vessel built through unprecedented international cooperation, incorporating technological breakthroughs that would have taken decades to develop under normal circumstances. "We're receiving a transmission, Captain," Ockhaffer announced. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." Takeda straightened her uniform jacket. "Put it through." The main viewscreen flickered, and a being that defied human expectations appeared. It possessed a vaguely humanoid shape, but its skin gleamed with metallic scales in shades of copper and bronze. 6 amber eyes arranged in a hexagonal pattern dominated its face, and what might have been a mouth was a vertical slit surrounded by small, writhing appendages. "I am Grand Marshal Vorex of the Dracorian Dominion," the creature spoke, its words translated through the ship's advanced AI system. The voice was surprisingly melodious, with harmonic undertones that almost made it sound like a chorus rather than an individual. "Your world has been cataloged and assessed. You will now receive your designation within our empire." Takeda stepped forward. "I am Captain Nora Takeda of the Global Defense Force. On behalf of Earth, I welcome you to our system and hope we can establish peaceful." "Peace is maintained through proper hierarchy," Vorex interrupted, the appendages around its mouth slit pulsating rapidly. "We have studied your communications and determined that Earth will serve as a Level 3 tribute world. You will provide specified quantities of minerals, biological specimens, and conscripts for labor. In exchange, you will receive protection and limited technological access." The bridge crew exchanged glances. This wasn't first contact as humanity had imagined it. This was subjugation. "Grand Marshal," Takeda replied carefully, "Earth is an independent world. We're interested in diplomatic relations and cultural exchange, but we don't accept tributary status to any outside power." All 6 of Vorex's eyes seemed to blink in unison. "This is not a negotiation, Captain. The Dracorian Dominion spans 7,000 star systems. Resistance is both futile and illogical. You have 72 of your Earth hours to prepare your leadership for formal submission. After that time, we will demonstrate the consequences of defiance." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in silence. Volkov was the first to speak. "Well, that went about as expected." "Inform the Security Council immediately," Takeda ordered, "and prepare the Resolute for combat operations." 24 hours later, the Emergency Global Security Council convened in the underground complex beneath Geneva. Leaders and military commanders from every major nation gathered around the central holographic display, which currently showed a detailed image of the Dracorian vessel. Director General Hiroshi Nakamura of the United Nations presided over the meeting, his normally diplomatic demeanor replaced by grim determination. The Dracorian ultimatum leaves us with few options. Our scientists estimate their technological advantage is approximately 2 centuries ahead of our most advanced systems. Dr. Valentina Sokolov, head of the Global Science Directorate, stepped forward. The quantum physicist had been instrumental in developing Earth's defensive capabilities. Their propulsion system alone indicates mastery of gravitational manipulation beyond our theoretical understanding. However, she added, bringing up a new hologram, we've detected interesting energy fluctuations in their weapons systems. What kind of fluctuations? Asked General Marcus Jackson, commander of the North American Defense Forces. Patterns consistent with quantum entanglement technology, Sokolov replied. Similar to our Phoenix platforms, but considerably more advanced. Captain Taikta, attending via secure link from the Resolute, leaned forward. Are you suggesting their systems might be vulnerable to our countermeasures? Not vulnerable exactly, Sokolov clarified, but potentially susceptible to disruption through quantum interference. We believe our pulse system might be effective, especially if we can get close enough. The photonic unstable lattice subversion emitter had been developed as a theoretical defense against advanced alien technology. It was designed to create quantum-level disruptions in systems that relied on entanglement principles. Until now, it had never been tested against actual extraterrestrial technology. And what if it fails? Asked Premier Joe of the East Asian Alliance. We would reveal our most advanced defensive capability and gain nothing. Then we fall back to Operation Checkmate, General Jackson replied. The distributed defense network is ready for deployment. Nakamura surveyed the room. We need to decide on our formal response. The vote before us is simple. Submit to Dracorian demands or refuse and prepare for conflict. The vote was unanimous. Very well, Nakamura announced. Earth stands defiant. Captain Taikta, you will deliver our response. When Grand Marshal Vorex's image appeared on the Resolute's view screen again, Taikta was prepared. She stood with Volkov and her senior officers behind her, presenting a united front. We have received your offer, she began without preamble, and Earth unanimously declines. We are not a tribute world, nor will we ever be. However, she continued before Vorex could respond, we propose an alternative arrangement. The alien's appendages twitched, in what Taikta's cultural specialists interpreted as surprise. Earth offers alliance, not submission, she continued. We have technologies and resources that might interest the Dracorian Dominion. We propose mutual exchange rather than tribute. Vorex remained silent for several seconds. This response is unprecedented. No world has refused designation in over 3 centuries. Then perhaps it's time for a new approach to interstellar relations, Taikta suggested. One based on mutual respect rather than domination. Your audacity is remarkable, Vorex replied, its voice taking on a harder edge. I will convey your counterproposal to the Imperial throne. However, be advised that refusal typically results in demonstration of force. Prepare yourselves. As the transmission ended, Volkov moved to Taikta's side. Do you think they'll attack immediately? No, she replied. Beings like that are bound by protocol and hierarchy. They'll gather their fleet first, make a proper show of force. How long do we have? Taikta studied the alien vessel on the screen. 3 days, maybe 4, just enough time to implement Checkmate. Operation Checkmate was humanity's last-ditch defense strategy, developed in the 17 months since the first detection of the approaching alien fleet. It consisted of thousands of miniaturized autonomous units, nicknamed pawns, each carrying specialized countermeasures designed to infiltrate and disrupt alien systems. Dr. Mikhail Ivanov, the cybernetics genius who had designed the pawns, supervised their deployment from the lunar base Artemis. The first wave is away, he reported to the Global Command Center. 5,000 units programmed to remain dormant until activated. The pawns were barely larger than grains of rice, manufactured using advanced nanotechnology. They could attach to virtually any surface and remain undetectable to all but the most sophisticated scanning systems. Once activated, They would infiltrate electronic systems and create cascading failures. Second wave launching now, Ivanov continued. These contain the pulse emitters. On Earth, other preparations were underway. Civilian populations were moved to hardened shelters. Military units took up defensive positions. And in orbit, the Phoenix platforms, massive energy projection systems disguised as civilian space stations, were quietly charged to maximum capacity. Captain Taekta received regular updates aboard the Resolute, which maintained position between Earth and the Dracorian vessel. "Any change in their status?" she asked Okaffer. "They've been transmitting continuously, Captain," he replied. "Based on the energy signatures, we believe they're communicating with other vessels." "The fleet is coming," Volkov remarked. Taekta nodded, "and we'll be ready." On the third day, the space around the Dracorian flagship shimmered as multiple portals opened. 15 warships emerged, each smaller than the flagship but still dwarfing the Resolute. They arranged themselves in a formation that effectively surrounded Earth's defensive perimeter. "Incoming transmission," Okaffer announced. Grand Marshal Vorex appeared, this time wearing what appeared to be ceremonial armor that accentuated the metallic quality of its scales. "The Imperial Throne has considered your response," it stated without greeting. "Your defiance is noted as evidence of your species' immaturity and irrationality. You will now witness the consequences of this choice." Taekta had expected this. "Before you take irreversible action, Grand Marshal, I urge you to scan the area around your vessels carefully." Vorex's appendages twitched. "Your primitive attempts at deception." "Not deception," Taekta interrupted. "Demonstration, activate checkmate." Throughout the Dracorian fleet, thousands of dormant pawns simultaneously activated. The tiny devices, which had attached themselves to the hulls of the alien vessels over the past 3 days, began to infiltrate the ship systems. On the view screen, Vorex suddenly turned aside, apparently responding to alerts within its ship. The transmission became unstable, the image flickering. "What trickery is this?" the alien demanded, genuine alarm in its harmonious voice for the first time. "Not trickery, Grand Marshal, innovation." Taekta allowed herself a small smile. "You see, humans don't respond well to threats. When faced with overwhelming force, we don't surrender, we adapt. We find another way." The Dracorian vessels began to drift out of formation as their propulsion systems failed. Emergency lights flickered across their hulls. "Your weapons systems are temporarily disabled," Taekta explained. "Your communications are limited to this channel, which we're maintaining. Your ships retain life support and basic functions, but nothing more." "Impossible," Vorex hissed. "Your level of technology is not what you assumed," Taekta finished for him. "Perhaps now you understand why we proposed alliance rather than submission." The bridge of the Dracorian flagship appeared to be in chaos behind Vorex, with other aliens moving rapidly and control panels flashing warning signals. "What are your terms?" Vorex finally asked, its harmonious voice now discordant with suppressed rage. "The same as before," Taekta replied. "Equal exchange, mutual respect, and recognition of Earth as a sovereign power, not a tribute world. And if we refuse, then we'll be forced to demonstrate our more aggressive capabilities." Taekta nodded to Volkov, who transmitted a new data packet to the Dracorian flagship. The packet contained footage of a pulse weapon test against a decommissioned Earth satellite. The satellite had been completely disintegrated, leaving not even debris behind. "Our Phoenix platforms are currently targeting each of your vessels," Taekta continued. "We would prefer not to use them." Vorex was silent for a long moment, its 6 eyes blinking in an irregular pattern. "I will consult with the Imperial Throne." "Of course," Taekta agreed. "In the meantime, perhaps our technical teams could assist with restoring minimal functionality to your vessels, as a gesture of good faith." The alien hesitated, then gave what might have been a nod. "Acceptable." As the transmission ended, the bridge crew of the Resolute broke into relieved smiles and subdued cheers. Volkov approached Taekta. "Do you think they'll actually negotiate now?" he asked quietly. Takeda watched the disabled Dracorian fleet on the view screen. They're pragmatists, Dimitri. We've shown them that conquering Earth would be costly, perhaps too costly, and we've offered them an alternative that saves face. And if they bring a larger fleet, then we'll be ready for that too, she smiled grimly. But somehow I think we've just changed the rules of the game. Outside the viewport, Earth rotated serenely, its blue oceans and white clouds betraying nothing of the momentous events unfolding in its orbit. Humanity had faced its first interstellar crisis not with superior firepower, but with ingenuity, courage, and an unwillingness to bow to tyranny, qualities that had defined the species throughout its turbulent history. The battle was not over, but the first engagement had gone to Earth. And in the vastness of space, word would spread of the small blue planet that defied the mighty Dracorian dominion and survived. The unconventional battle and new galactic order. 6 hours had passed since the Dracorian fleet had been neutralized by Operation Checkmate. The Resolute maintained its vigilant position between Earth and the disabled alien armada, while technical teams worked to restore minimal systems to the Dracorian vessels as a gesture of goodwill. Captain Takeda had retired to her ready room, reviewing tactical updates while awaiting the alien response. "Captain," Commander Volkov's voice came through the intercom. "We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the Dracorian flagship." Takeda was instantly alert. "Define unusual." "The signature doesn't match anything in our database. It appears they've activated some kind of secondary system that wasn't affected by the pawns." "Battle stations," Takeda ordered, striding back onto the bridge. "Full defensive posture." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency as alert klaxons sounded throughout the ship. On the main view screen, the Dracorian flagship pulsed with an eerie violet light that emanated from the geometric patterns on its hull. "Energy levels rising exponentially," reported Lieutenant Ockhaffer. "Whatever they're doing, it's big." Takeda opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Resolute. We have unusual activity from the Dracorian flagship. Recommend immediate activation of the Phoenix platforms." Director General Nakamura's face appeared on a secondary screen. "Understood, Captain. Phoenix platforms are charging. Estimated time to full power is 3 minutes." "We may not have 3 minutes," Volkov muttered, pointing to the view screen. The space around the Dracorian flagship was distorting, reality itself seeming to bend and warp. Then, with a flash that momentarily blinded the Resolute sensors, a massive portal opened, far larger than those that had brought the fleet. "Portal signature is different from previous ones," Ockhaffer reported as the sensors recovered. "Oh my God." Through the portal emerged a vessel that dwarfed even the Dracorian flagship. It resembled an enormous spindle, rotating slowly as it moved into position above the disabled fleet. Its surface was a mosaic of the same shifting geometric patterns, but far more complex and hypnotic. "New vessel is approximately 25 kilometers in length," Ockhaffer stated, his voice steady despite the shock evident on his face. "Incoming transmission," announced Communications Officer Wei Lin, "from the new vessel." Takeda squared her shoulders. On screen. The being that appeared was clearly of the same species as Vorex, but its metallic scales shimmered with iridescent colors that shifted constantly. A crown-like structure encircled its head, and its 6 eyes glowed with internal light. "I am Supreme Archon Xylax of the Dracorian Dominion," the alien announced, its harmonic voice deeper and more resonant than Vorex's. "Who speaks for this world?" Takeda stepped forward. "I am Captain Nora Takeda of the Global Defense Force. I speak for Earth in this matter. Grand Marshal Vorex has informed me of your unusual response to our offer of protection." The Supreme Archon's mouth appendages moved in complex patterns. "In 3 millennia of expansion, no world has refused designation and survived." "Perhaps it's time for that tradition to change," Takeda replied calmly, though her heart raced. The Supreme Archon made a sound that the translation system struggled with, something between a laugh and a musical chord. Your species possesses remarkable confidence, or perhaps it is merely ignorance. Before Takeda could respond, Nakamura's voice came through her private comm channel. Phoenix platforms ready, Captain, awaiting your order. Takeda gave an imperceptible nod to Volkov, who silently relayed the instruction to Earth Command. The Phoenix platforms would hold fire unless she gave the signal. Supreme Archon, she addressed the alien leader, we demonstrated our technological capabilities by neutralizing your fleet without destroying a single vessel or taking a single life. We then offered assistance to your stranded ships. These are not the actions of an ignorant species, but one that values diplomacy over conflict. An interesting perspective, Xylax replied. Yet I must wonder, were your actions mercy or merely caution? Perhaps you lack the resolve to destroy your enemies when necessary. Takeda recognized the test in the alien's words. We possess both the capability and the resolve to defend ourselves by any means necessary, Supreme Archon. What we lack is the desire for needless destruction. There is a difference. The alien was silent for a moment, its 6 eyes unblinking. Perhaps there is. It has been some time since the Dominion encountered a truly new perspective. Then maybe it's time for the Dominion to evolve, Takeda suggested boldly, just as all successful species must. In the Global Command Center beneath Geneva, tension was palpable as military leaders and political representatives watched the exchange. The Phoenix platforms were fully charged, their targeting systems locked on both the disabled Dracorian fleet and the enormous new vessel. She's taking a significant risk, General Jackson observed, challenging their entire worldview. Dr. Sokolov nodded. But it's the right approach. These beings value hierarchy and tradition, but they've survived for millennia, which suggests adaptability. If they were purely rigid, added Dr. Ivanov, they would have stagnated and collapsed long ago. Nakamura watched the screens intently. The question is whether they can adapt quickly enough to avoid conflict now. On one monitor, they could see that Operation Checkmate's pawns were still functioning, keeping the Dracorian fleet disabled. On another, the massive alien vessel, now identified as the Imperial Vessel Axiom, maintained its position above the fleet. Energy spike from the Axiom, called out a sensor operator. All eyes turned to the main display as a beam of coherent energy lanced out from the massive vessel, not toward Earth or the Resolute, but toward one of the disabled Dracorian warships. The smaller vessel shuddered, then disintegrated completely, leaving nothing but scattered particles. They just destroyed their own ship, Jackson said incredulously. On the communication screen, the Supreme Archon's voice could be heard addressing Takeda. A demonstration of what we could do to your world, yet also proof that the Dominion does not tolerate failure. The commander of that vessel refused to adapt to the new situation. Adaptation, as you say, is necessary for survival. Nakamura exchanged glances with the other leaders. A warning, but also possibly an opening. They're signaling they can change. Phoenix platforms remain ready, reported the weapons officer. Awaiting orders. Nakamura took a deep breath. Hold position, let's see where this goes. Aboard the Resolute, Takeda had watched the destruction of the Dracorian warship with carefully controlled horror. The weapon technology displayed was far beyond Earth's defensive capabilities. If the Axiom chose to attack in earnest, even the Phoenix platforms might not be sufficient. A persuasive argument for diplomacy, she acknowledged to the Supreme Archon. Though I note you chose to demonstrate your power on your own vessel rather than against Earth. Efficiency, Xylax replied simply. 2 messages delivered with 1 action. Then allow me to be equally efficient, Takeda countered. Earth proposes a formal meeting between our respective leadership bodies, not for submission, but for negotiation toward a new form of relationship, one that benefits both our civilizations. The Supreme Archon's appendages moved in what Takeda was beginning to recognize as a gesture of consideration. The Dominion has no protocol for such an arrangement with a non-tributary world. Then we'll create one together, Takeda said. Innovation need not be limited to technology. After a long moment, the Supreme Archon responded, I will permit a delegation from your world to board the Axiom for preliminary discussions. You may bring 5 representatives. Takeda maintained her composure, though this was a significant breakthrough. Acceptable. However, in the spirit of mutual respect, we propose a neutral location. Perhaps aboard the Resolute, we can provide suitable accommodations for your delegation. Xylax's eyes seemed to flicker with something that might have been amusement. Bold to the end? Very well, Captain Takeda. The Resolute will serve as neutral ground. I will bring 3 representatives. You will prepare appropriate atmospheric conditions. Of course, Takeda agreed. We'll transmit the specifications for your comfort immediately. 12 of your hours, the Supreme Archon stated. Prepare yourselves. As the transmission ended, Volkov moved to Takeda's side. Did that just happen? Did we just arrange a diplomatic summit with an alien empire that was planning to subjugate us hours ago? Takeda allowed herself a small smile. It would appear so, Dmitri. What changed their minds? I don't think they've changed their minds yet, she replied thoughtfully. But they're curious. We've done something no one has done before. We've surprised them. And beings that have existed for millennia probably don't get surprised very often. Let's hope curiosity continues to outweigh conquest, Volkov said. Inform Earth Command, Takeda ordered. We need our best diplomatic team ready within 10 hours. The diplomatic summit aboard the Resolute was preceded by meticulous preparations. The ship's largest conference room was reconfigured to accommodate the biological needs of the Dracorian delegation. The atmosphere was adjusted to include higher concentrations of certain gases, and the gravity increased slightly to match Dracorian comfort levels. Earth's delegation consisted of Director General Nakamura, Dr. Sokolov, Captain Takeda, and 2 diplomatic specialists with expertise in negotiation theory and cultural anthropology. They waited in the conference room as the Dracorian shuttle docked with the Resolute. Remember, Nakamura advised, we're making history today. The first equal negotiation between Earth and an advanced alien civilization. Dr. Sokolov nodded, and potentially establishing a precedent for how the Dracorian Dominion interacts with other worlds in the future. The doors slid open to reveal Supreme Archon Xylax, flanked by Grand Marshal Vorex, and a 3rd Dracorian wearing elaborate robes covered in what appeared to be mathematical symbols. Welcome aboard the Resolute, Takeda greeted them. We're honored by your presence. Xylax inclined its head slightly. Your accommodations are adequate. This is Imperial mathematician Thelox, who will evaluate the technical aspects of any agreements we reach. The negotiations that followed lasted for 14 hours without interruption. The Dracorians initially maintained their position that Earth should accept some form of tributary status, while Earth's delegation firmly insisted on recognition as a sovereign equal. The breakthrough came when Dr. Sokolov presented detailed analyses of Earth's technological innovations, particularly in quantum physics, artificial intelligence, and biological sciences. Areas where, somewhat surprisingly, Earth's approaches differed significantly from Dracorian methods. Your quantum entanglement technology follows a completely different mathematical framework than ours, Imperial mathematician Thelox observed, genuine interest evident in its harmonic voice. Most intriguing, there may be applications we had not considered. And your biological adaptability is remarkable, added Grand Marshal Vorex, who had become noticeably less hostile as the negotiations progressed. Your species has evolved in a highly unstable environment, forcing rapid adaptation. This is reflected in your thinking. Supreme Archon Xylax had remained mostly silent, observing the interactions closely. Now it spoke directly to Nakamura. Your world has existed in isolation, developing unique solutions to universal problems. There is value in such diversity. That's precisely our argument, Nakamura replied. The Dracorian Dominion has thrived through uniformity and hierarchy. Earth has survived through diversity and adaptability. Imagine what might be achieved through cooperation between such different approaches. Xylax's scales shimmered with subtle color changes. The Dominion has stood for 3 millennia on the principle that strength flows from the center outward, from the imperial throne to the furthest colonies. What you propose would challenge this foundation. Not necessarily, Takeda interjected. The strongest structures often combine rigid frameworks with flexible components. Perhaps Earth could represent a new type of relationship within your existing system, not a tributary but an ally, a source of innovation rather than mere resources. The Supreme Archon considered this. A novel concept, it would require approval from the Imperial throne. Of course, Nakamura agreed. We understand that significant changes require proper authority. After another hour of detailed discussion, the outlines of an unprecedented agreement began to emerge. Earth would remain fully sovereign, neither paying tribute nor providing conscripts. Instead, it would enter into a formal alliance with the Dracorian Dominion, exchanging technological innovations, scientific knowledge, and cultural understanding. There remains the matter of your interference with our fleet, Grand Marshal Vorex noted. The pawns, as you call them, remain active. We're prepared to deactivate them immediately upon ratification of our agreement, Takeda assured him, and to provide technical assistance in restoring your vessels to full functionality. A gesture of good faith, Nakamura added, and the beginning of technological exchange. Supreme Archon Xylax rose to its full height, towering over the human delegation. I will convey these terms to the Imperial throne with my recommendation for acceptance. Until then, a temporary non-aggression protocol will be established. As the Dracorian delegation prepared to depart, Xylax addressed Takeda directly. Your strategy was unexpected, Captain. You disabled our fleet not to destroy us, but to create an opportunity for dialogue. This reflects a sophisticated understanding of true power. Takeda bowed slightly. We believe that the strongest victories don't require destruction, Supreme Archon. A perspective worth consideration, Xylax replied. Perhaps there is something to learn from Earth after all. 3 weeks later, Captain Takeda stood on the bridge of the Resolute as the ratification ceremony was broadcast throughout Earth and, presumably, across the Dracorian Dominion. On the surface below, Supreme Archon Xylax and Director General Nakamura signed the historic Earth-Dracorian Alliance Treaty. First equal alliance in Dracorian history, Volkov remarked, standing beside her. You know they're already calling it the Takeda Doctrine in diplomatic circles. Takeda shook her head. It wasn't just me. It was all of us, every scientist, engineer, and soldier who refused to accept defeat when faced with overwhelming odds. Still, you're the one who stood face to face with them and didn't blink, he insisted. That counts for something. On the view screen, the ceremony continued. The treaty established Earth as a sovereign allied world within the Dracorian sphere of influence, a completely new designation created specifically for this occasion. Earth would maintain its independence while gaining access to Dracorian technology and protection. In exchange, the Dominion would receive Earth's unique innovations and perspective. Do you think it will last? Lieutenant Okafor asked quietly. That depends on both sides, Takeda replied. But I think it will. The Dracorians are pragmatists at heart. They've survived for millennia by recognizing value and incorporating it into their empire. Now they've recognized that diversity can be valuable too. And humanity? Wei Lin questioned. We've just taken our first real step into a larger universe, Takeda said. We've proven we can stand as equals with a civilization thousands of years more advanced than our own. Not through superior firepower, but through courage, ingenuity, and principle. The ceremony concluded with an announcement that would change human history forever. Earth would send its first ambassadors to the Dracorian homeworld, while Dracorian representatives would establish a permanent embassy in Geneva. Cultural and scientific exchanges would begin immediately. I've been assigned to lead the security detail for the first ambassador, Volkov mentioned. We leave in 2 months. Takeda smiled. They couldn't have chosen better, Dmitri. Who's the ambassador? Dr. Sokolov, he replied. Apparently, the Dracorians were quite impressed with her. As they should be. Takeda turned from the view screen to look out at the stars through the viewport. This is just the beginning, you know. Once word spreads that Earth stood against the Dracorian Dominion and negotiated as equals, other civilizations will take notice. You think there are more out there? The universe is vast, she replied, and now we have a voice in it. 1 year later, Captain Takeda, now Admiral Takeda, stood in the observation dome of the newly constructed Harmony Station, which orbited Earth as a joint human-Dracorian facility. Beside her stood Grand Marshal Vorex, who had become something of an unlikely ally over the months of implementation. The first joint patrol fleet launches tomorrow, Vorex noted, watching as both human and Dracorian vessels maneuvered in the distance. Your crews have adapted to our technology remarkably quickly. As I told you from the beginning, Takeda replied, adaptation is what we do best. Indeed, the Dracorian turned its 6 eyes toward her. The Supreme Archon has informed me that 3 other worlds have now requested reconsideration of their tributary status. They wish to explore arrangements similar to Earth's. Takeda tried not to show her surprise. And how has the Imperial throne responded? With caution, Vorex admitted, but not with refusal. Your Takeda doctrine has created ripples throughout the Dominion. Change can be uncomfortable, she acknowledged, but often necessary. A truth the Dominion is beginning to relearn. Vorex's scales shimmered in what Takeda had come to recognize as thoughtfulness. There are whispers that the Imperial throne is considering creating a council of allied worlds, with Earth as a founding member. That would be a significant evolution in Dracorian governance, Takeda observed. Revolution, some would say, Vorex corrected, though a peaceful one. The mathematics of imperial expansion have been recalculated. The old equation of domination and tribute has proven less optimal than once believed. Takeda smiled. I believe humans would call that progress. Below them, Earth rotated serenely, its blue oceans and white clouds unchanged by the momentous events of the past year. Yet everything had changed. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge not with superior firepower, but with courage, ingenuity, and an unwavering commitment to its principles.